Well, the hits keep on rolling. Let's talk about a new animated film. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's movie review of Memoir of a Snail. This film is directed by Adam Elliot. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, out there in the animation sphere, we have a somewhat newish animation film here in 2024. Of course, we have Memoir of a Snail, which is an Australian film that's actually directed by Adam Elliot, and it's a movie that has voice work by Sarah Snook and Kodi Smit-McPhee, Eric Bana, Nick Cave, and of course Jacki Weaver. And this is an animation film that is garnering a lot of buzz for its uniqueness, the fact it's claymation, which you don't see a lot of times outside of something like Artemin. And so the story is basically about Grace and Gilbert, who are two young kids who in essence are separated after the loss of their parents. One goes to an apple picking farm of a couple of really religious nut fanatics. The other goes to a couple of freewheeling kind of swingers, to be fairly honest. And Grace basically tells a story of how this situation came to be, kind of her feeling of emptiness, her feeling of loss, her feeling of losing her brother, and the idea of like how that affects the human psyche in a lot of respects. And it also is a story about, individuals who just have to deal with the nature of growing up and how difficult that is. And so in essence, Grace, who's addicted to snails and the kind of ideology of snails, basically she's been an outcast all her life, made fun of. And so therefore she, with the help of a character named Pinky, who's played by Jacki Weaver, kind of finds herself in a lot of respects, or tries to find herself. This older lady just is a breath of fresh air, and so on and so forth. But once again, she's an outcast and very downtrodden after the situations that happen. So that's kind of the story. Once again, she misses Gilbert. Gilbert's away on a psychotic family farm and stuff like that. But once again, this movie is an Oscar contender. It's up there, with a lot of what Disney and Artemin do when it comes to the storytelling aspects. But what's really interesting about this movie is the simple fact that it's rated R, which I was not expecting. I did not expect going into this to have cursing and nudity and stuff like that. So it was really kind of a shock. It doesn't mean that I wasn't interested in watching it. I just didn't realize it was rated R. So be aware going into this movie that it is not a kid's film, to be fairly honest. But it deals with a lot of heavy subjects when it comes to death and being separated and depression and all that good stuff. And well, not really good stuff, but the question remains after getting a chance to finally see this movie. It's in theaters. It'll be on VOD, I'm sure, very, very soon. Is whether this movie is worth your time. It's only 90 minutes or so, but is it worth your time? Is it a well-represented movie? And does it do justice for claymation and kind of what Artemin does and stuff like that, even though this isn't Artemin? I got to be honest, this is one of my favorite movies of the year, to be fairly absolutely honest with you. I really enjoyed this movie. It's an R-rated film, which once again is surprising. I was not expecting that going in. But like with Leica, with Artemin, like with Henry Selick, who did like Nightmare Before Christmas, James and the Giant Peach, and Coraline, there is a unique quality to this film that is not going to be for everyone, to be fairly honest. It's not. It's a very dour, very sad movie with a lot of death and a lot of melancholy. It's a movie about a woman who feels such like an outcast that it affects her mood. And even everything she does to wanting a husband, kind of, if you watch it, it's just a very desperate situation that she kind of sees herself in. But the way Sarah Snook portrays this character in voice work really gives this character dimension. There is a level of sincerity, there's a level of want, there's a level of just uniqueness that Sarah Snook brings to this Grace character, that as she's narrating the movie, it feels wholesome, it feels whole, it feels like there's life to this situation. And that's what I honestly feel works for this movie. I think the characters are unique. Yes, they're kind of grotesque looking, but that's just the nature of claymation movies. They're not going to be they're going to be inventive and uniqueness in the kind of style that they go for. But the beauty is looking beyond the ugliness. That's kind of what these characters are. You're looking beyond what they are. You look at that with Grace herself, and she's an outcast, and she is very central to the role because, somebody like myself who feels like an outcast sometimes. It's really kind of, it deeps and it digs into the soul of the nature of the human being. And watching her like pine for her brother and how much her brother meant to her, and like, you know, when he's involved with fireworks and stuff like that, and they have like scars on their hands, which, you know, kind of comes out to be a smile, and I really appreciate that, and it's really a movie about wanting to be loved and finding your thing and finding a way to get through the darkness. And I really appreciate what Adam Elliot does in this movie, and it's really a special movie. It's probably one of my favorite claymation slash animation movies I've seen in quite a while, because it's so hard hitting, but does it in a very comedic tone. There's a lot of darkness to it, but there is a lot of comedy when it comes to like the different families. But it reaches into those bags of that life can be cruel to people, but there's also a comedic aspect to that. You know, you may have something tragic happen to you, but some reason there is a silver lining and a light at the end of the tunnel. Watching Gilbert go through this horrendous like family life with these religious nutcases, and how he handles that, and how he pines to be somebody on the street as a musician, and then, you know, dealing with the fact that they lost their parents. There's just so much level of depthness here that I haven't seen since Persepolis, to be fairly honest, or, you know, the nature of just how the metaphors that are being presented, whether it be the idea of like the family members leaving, and how her house is just kind of this, you know, full of snails, like the, you know, the cat lady scenario. There's a lot of cool stuff in this movie, and it's a very heartfelt movie. It's one of those I don't find any real faults with, because there really isn't any faults to this movie. It really feels like a compassionate tale that is semi-autobiographical to Adam Elliot and some of the things he may have experienced as a kid, whether, you know, I have no idea what it is, but I'm assuming it had to do with the loss of a family member, or, you know, a child, like his maybe relative or sister or brother or something like that got separated. And there's just so much passion put into this movie. I really respect the time and effort in the storytelling. You know, this movie isn't very commercial. It's not going to be a big budget, you know, Pixar style movie, but it's still just as compassionate. It's still just as relevant, still just as heartfelt as anything you'll see come out of these big budget studios. And I give a lot of credit. It really is one of my favorite movies of the year. Once again, it really is not for everyone, just in the simple fact of the situations that these characters are put in, and how they have to deal with these situations, and the kind of disturbing nature of how some of the things play out. But if you want to go in for a really heartfelt, really emotional story of a young woman who just loses everything but still finds hope, even though hope can be very fleeting, but also is just very human. That's what it boils down to, is very human. I think this movie is very much a winner in that aspect. And I was looking forward to this movie when I kept hearing how good it was, and I think it delivers on all fronts. So once again, there's nothing really problematic with this movie at all, nothing I can find. But overall, I thought it was fantastic. So definitely give it a watch. It won't be in theaters for very long, because I don't think it's making much money. But if you get a chance to watch Memoir of a Snail, definitely check it out. So there you go. Anyways, with that said, thank you so much for watching my review of Memoirs of a Snail. If you've seen this movie, let me know in the comments what you think of the movie. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What is your overall feeling of it? But otherwise, thank you so much. If you like what you see on this channel, awesome. Hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell. Top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out, guys.